the Mahabharata of Krishna-Dwaipayana Vyasa. Translated into English prose from the original Sanskrit text by Pratap Chandra Roy C.I.E. This free ebook has been downloaded from holybooks.com. Vana Parva. Section 85, Tirthayalra Parva continued. Pulastya said, arriving next at the excellent Tirtha called Samvedya in the evening, and touching its waters, one surely obtained knowledge. Created a Tirtha in days of yore by Rama's energy, he that proceeded to Lohitya obtained the merit of giving away gold in abundance. Proceeding next to the river Karatoya, and fasting there for 3 nights, a man acquired the merit of the horse sacrifice. Even this is the injunction of the Creator himself. It hath been said by the wise, O king, that if a person goeth to the spot where the Ganga mingleth with the sea, he reapeth merit which is 10 times that of the horse sacrifice. Crossing over to the opposite bank of the Ganga, he that batheth there having resided for 3 nights is, O king, cleansed from all his sins. One should next proceed to the Vatani capable of destroying every sin. Arriving next at the Tirtha named Viraja, one shineth like the moon, and sanctifying his race rescueth it, and is himself cleansed of all his sins. He that bathes in Viraja further reapeth the merit of giving away 1,000 kin besides sanctifying his line. Residing with purity at the confluence of the Sona and the Jyotirthi, and offering oblations of water to the gods and the Pitris, a man reapeth the merit of the Agnishtama sacrifice. Touching next the waters of the Vansagulma constituting the sources of both the Sona and the Narmada, one obtaineth the merit of the horse sacrifice. Sojourning next to the Tirtha called Rishabha in Kosla, O Lord of men, and fasting there for 3 nights, one earneth the merit of the Vajapayal sacrifice, and of the gift of 1,000 kin, and also delivereth his race. Arriving at Kosla, a man should bathe in the Tirtha named Kala. By this, one surely obtaineth the merit of giving away 110 bulls. By bathing in Pushpavati and fasting there, O king, for 3 nights one sanctifieth his own race, besides earning the merit of the gift of 1,000 kin. Then, O foremost of the Bharata race, by bathing in the Tirtha called Vadarika, one obtaineth long life, and also goeth to heaven. Arriving next at Champa, and bathing in the Bhagirathi, and seeing Danda, one earneth the merit of giving away 1,000 kin. Then should one go to the sacred Lapetika, graced by the presence of the pious. By so doing one reapeth the merit of the Vajapayal sacrifice and also becometh regarded by the gods. Proceeding next to the mountain called Mahendra, inhabited of yore by Jamdagnya, and bathing in Rama's Tirtha, a person acquireth the merit of the horse sacrifice. Here is Mathanga's Tirtha called Kedara, O son of the Kuru race. Bathing in it, O foremost of the Kurus, a man obtaineth the merit of giving away 1,000 kin. Going to the mountain Shri, one who toucheth the waters of the stream that is there, by worshipping there the god having the bull for his mark obtaineth the merit of the horse sacrifice. On the mountain Shri dwelleth happily, the effulgent Mahadev with the goddess, as also Brahma with the other gods. By bathing in the lake of Deva, with purity and restrained mind, one obtaineth the merit of the horse sacrifice, and also attaineth to the highest success. Proceeding next to the mountain Rishabha in Pandya, worshipped by the gods, one obtains the merit of the Vajapayal sacrifice and rejoices in heaven. One should next proceed to the river Kaveri, frequented by Apsaras. Bathing there, O monarch, one obtaineth the merit of giving away 1,000 kin. Touching next the waters of the Tirtha called Kanya on the shores of the sea, one is cleansed from every sin. Proceeding next to Gokarna, celebrated over the three worlds and which is situated, O best of kings, in the midst of the deep, and is reverenced by all the worlds, and where the gods headed by Brahma, and rishis endued with wealth of asceticism, and spirits and yakshas and pisachas, and kinnaras and the great nagas, and siddhas and charanas and gandharvas, and men and pannagas, and rivers, seas and mountains, worship the Lord of Uma. One should worship Isna, fasting there for 3 nights. By this, one acquireth the merit of the horse sacrifice, and the status of Ganpatya. By staying there for 12 nights, one's soul is cleansed of all sins. One should next proceed to the Tirtha known as Gayatri, celebrated over the 3 worlds. Staying there for 3 nights, one acquireth the merit of giving away 1,000 kin. A strange phenomenon is seen to occur there in respect to Brahmanas, O Lord of men. If a Brahmana, whether born of a Brahmani or any other woman, reciteth the Gayatri there, the recitation becomes rhythmic and musical, while, O king, a person who is not a Brahmana cannot adequately hymn it at all. Proceeding next to the inaccessible tank of the Brahmana Rishi Samvarta, one acquireth personal beauty and prosperity. Repairing next to Vana, he that offers oblations of water to the gods and the Pitris, obtains a cart drawn by peacocks and cranes. Going next to the Godavari, ever frequented by the Siddhas, one earneth the merit of the cow sacrifice, and goeth to the excellent region of Vasuki. Bathing next at the confluence of the Vena, one obtains the merit of the Vajapayana sacrifice. By a dip next at the confluence of Varada, one acquireth the merit of giving away 1,000 kin. Arriving next at Brahmasthuna, one that stayeth there for 3 nights accrueth the merit of giving away 1,000 kin, and also ascendeth to heaven. Coming next to Kusaplavana, with subdued soul and leading a brahmacharya mode of life, and staying there for 3 nights, he that bathes in it obtains the merit of the horse sacrifice. Bathing next at the romantic Devahrada that is supplied by the waters of the Krishna Vena, and also in the Jatismarahrada, one acquireth the memory of one's former life. It was there that the chief of the celestials celebrated 100 sacrifices and ascended to heaven. By a visit only to that spot, one acquireth the merit of the Agnistoma sacrifice. Bathing next in the Sarvadevahrada, a person obtaineth the merit of giving away 1,000 kin. Proceeding next to the highly sacred tank called Payoshni, that best of waters, he that offers oblations of water to the gods and the Pitris acquires the merit of the gift of 1,000 kin. Arriving next at the sacred forest of Dandaka, a person should bathe in the waters there. By this, O king, one at once obtains, O Bharata, the merit of giving away 1,000 kin. Proceeding next to the asylum of Sarabanga and that of the illustrious Sukha, one acquireth immunity from misfortune, besides sanctifying his race. Then should one proceed to Sarpaka, where Jamdagni's son had formerly dwelt. Bathing in that Tirtha of Rama, one acquireth the merit of giving away gold in abundance. Bathing next in the Saptadavra, with the subdued sense and regulated diet, one earneth great merit, and goeth also to the region of the celestials. Proceeding next to Devahrada, with subdued sense and regulated diet, a man obtaineth the merit of the Divisatra sacrifice. One should proceed next to the forest of Tungaka, with subdued senses and leading a brahmacharya mode of life. It was here that in olden days Munis Saraswata taught the Vedas to the ascetics. When the Vedas had been lost in consequence of the Munis having forgotten them, Angira's son, seated at ease on the upper garments of the Munis duly spread out, pronounced distinctly and with emphasis the syllable And at this, the ascetics again recollected all that they had learnt before. It was there that the rishis and the gods Varuna, Agni, Prajapati, Narayana also called Hari, Mahadev, and the illustrious grandsire of great splendor, appointed the resplendent Brigu to officiate at a sacrifice. Gratifying Agni by libations of clarified butter poured according to the ordinance, the illustrious Brigu once performed the Agnyadna sacrifice for all those rishis, after which both they and the gods went away to their respective homes one after another. One who enters the forest of Tungaka is, O best of kings, male or female, cleansed of every sin. There in that tirtha, O hero, one should reside for a month, with subdued senses and regulated diet. By this, O king, one ascendeth to the region of Brahma, and delivereth also his race. Arriving next at Medhavika, one should offer oblations of water to the gods and the Pitris. By this, one acquires the merit of the Agnistoma sacrifice, and also memory and intellect. There in that tirtha is the mountain known over the whole world and called Kalanjara. Bathing in the celestial lake that is there, one acquires the merit of giving away 1,000 kin. He that, O king, after a bath, offereth oblations to the gods and the Pitris on the Kalanjara mountain, is, without doubt, regarded in heaven. Proceeding next, O monarch, to the river Mandakini capable of destroying all sins and which is on that best of mountains called Chitrakuta, he that bathes there and worships the gods and the Pitris, obtains the merit of the horse sacrifice and attains to an exalted state. One should next, O virtuous one, proceed to the excellent tirtha called Bhatristana, where, O king, ever dwells the celestial generalissimo Kartikeya. By a journey only to that spot, a person, O foremost of kings, attaineth to success. Bathing next at the tirtha called Koti, one earneth the merit of giving away 1,000 kin. Having walked round Koti, one should proceed next to Jesthasthana. Beholding Mahadev who is there, one shineth like the moon. There, O mighty monarch, is a celebrated well, O bull of the Bharata race. There in that well, O foremost of warriors, are the 4 seas. He that bathes there, O foremost of kings, and with subdued soul worships the gods and the Pitris, is cleansed of all his sins and attaineth to an exalted state. Then, O mighty king, should one proceed to the great Sringavpura, where, O foremost of kings, formerly Rama, Dashratha's son, had crossed the Ganga. Bathing in that tirtha, one, O mighty armed one, is cleansed of all his sins. Bathing with subdued senses and leading a brahmacharya mode of life, in the Ganga, one is cleansed of every sin, and obtains also the merit of the Vajapayana sacrifice. One should next proceed to the place called Mayurvata, consecrated to Mahadev of high intelligence. Beholding there the god, bowing down to him and walking round the spot, one acquireth, O Bharata, the Ganpatya status. Bathing in Ganga at that tirtha, one is cleansed of all his sins. Then, O king, should one proceed to Prayaga, whose praises have been sung by rishis and where dwell the gods with Brahma at their head, the directions with their presiding deities, the Lokpalas, the Siddhas, the Pitris adored by the worlds, the great rishis Sanat Kumara and others, stainless Brahmarshis Angiras and others, the Nagas, the Suparnas, the Siddhas, the snakes, the rivers, the seas, the Gandharvas, the Apsaras, and the Lord Hari with Prajapati. There in that tirtha are 3 fiery caverns between which the Ganga, that foremost of tirthas, rolleth rapidly. There in that region also the world-purifying daughter of the sun, Yamuna, celebrated over the three worlds, united with the Ganga. The country between the Ganga and the Yamuna is regarded as the most venerous of the world, and Prayaga as the foremost point of that region. The Tirthas Prayaga, Pratisthana, Kamvala, Ashvatara and Bhogavati are the sacrificial platforms of the Creator. There in those places, O foremost of warriors, the Vedas and the sacrifices, in embodied forms, and the rishis endued with wealth of asceticism, adore Brahma, and there the gods and rulers of territories also celebrate their sacrifices. The learned, however, say that of all these tirthas, O exalted one, Prayaga is the most sacred, in fact, the foremost of all tirthas in the three worlds. Going to that tirtha, by singing its praises, or by taking a little sip from it, one is cleansed from every sin. He that bathes in that confluence celebrated over the world, acquires all the merits of the Rajasuya and the horse sacrifices. This sacrificial place is worshipped by the gods themselves. If a man give it there ever so little, it increaseth, O Bharata, 1,000-fold. O child, let not the texts of the Veda, nor the opinions of men dissuade thy mind from the desire of dying at Prayaga. O son of the Kuru race, the wise say that 600,010,000 tirthas exist at Prayaga. Bathing in the confluence of Ganga and Yamuna, one obtains the merit that attaches to the four kinds of knowledge and the merits also of those that are truthful. There at Prayaga is the excellent tirtha of Vasuki called Bhogavati. He that batheth in it, obtaineth the merit of the horse sacrifice. There also in the Ganga is the tirtha famed over the three worlds, called Ramapraptana, which confereth the merit of 10 horse sacrifices. O son of the Kuru race, wherever may a person bathe in the Ganga, he earneth merit equal to that of a trip to Kurukshetra. An exception, however, is made in favor of Kanakla, while the merit attaching to Prayaga is the greatest. Having committed 100 sins, he that bathes in the Ganga, hath all his sins washed off by the waters thereof, even as fuel is consumed by fire. It hath been said that in the Satyayuga all the tirthas were sacred, in the Treta, Pushkara alone was such, in Dwapara, Kurukshetra, and in the Kali Yuga, the Ganga alone is sacred. In Pushkara, one should practice austerities, in Mahalaya, one should give away, in the Malaya mountains, one should ascend the funeral pyre, and in Brigotunga, one should renounce one's body by foregoing food. Bathing in Pushkara, in Kurukshetra, in the Ganga and in the confluence of the Ganga and the Yamuna, one sanctifieth 7 generations of one's race up and down. He that reciteth the name of the Ganga is purified, while he that beholdeth her, receiveth prosperity, while he that bathes in her and drinks of her waters sanctifieth 7 generations of his race up and down. As long, O king, as one's bones lie in contact with the waters of the Ganga, so long doth he live regarded in heaven, even as one liveth in heaven in consequence of the merit he earneth by pious pilgrimages to sacred tirthas and holy spots. There is no tirtha that is like unto the Ganga, there is no god like unto Keswa, and there is none superior to Brahmanas. This hath been said even by the grandsire. O great king, the region through which the Ganga flows should be regarded as a sacred asylum, and a spot of land that is on the Ganga's banks should be regarded as one favorable to the attainment of ascetic success. This truthful description of the tirthas one should recite only unto the regenerate ones, unto those that are pious, unto one's son and friends and disciples and dependents. This narrative, without a rival, is blessed and holy and leadeth to heaven. Holy and entertaining and sanctifying, it is productive of merit and high worth. Destructive of every sin, it is a mystery that the great rishis cherish with care. By reciting it in the midst of Brahmanas, one is cleansed of every sin, and ascends to heaven. This description of tirthas is auspicious and heaven-giving and sacred, ever blessed as it destroys one's enemies. Foremost of all accounts, it sharpens the intellect. By reading this narrative, the sonless obtains sons, the destitute obtain riches, a person of the royal order conquereth the whole earth. The Vaisya cometh by wealth, the Sudra obtaineth all his desires, and the Brahmana crosseth the ocean of the world. Purifying himself, he that listens daily to the merits of the different tirthas, recollects the incidents of many previous births and rejoices in heaven. Of the tirthas that have been recited here, some are easily accessible, while others are difficult of access. But he that is inspired with the desire of beholding all tirthas, should visit them even in imagination. Desirous of obtaining merit, the Vasis, and the Sadhyas, the Adityas, the Maruts, the Aswins, and the Rishis equal unto celestials, all bathe in these tirthas. Do thou also, O thou of the Kuru race, observing the ordinance as explained by me, visit, with subdued senses, these tirthas, increasing thy merit, O thou of excellent voice. Men of piety and learning are able to visit these tirthas, by reason of their purified senses, their belief in Godhead, and their acquaintance with the Vedas. He that doth not observe vows, he that hath not his soul under control, he that is impure, he that is a thief, and he that is of crooked mind, doth not, O Kavya, bathe in tirthas. Thou art ever observant of virtue, and art of pure character. By thy virtue, O virtuous one, thou hast always gratified thy father and thy grandfather, and great-grandfathers, and the gods with Brahma at their head, and the rishis also, O thou worst in virtue. Thou who resemblest Vasva, thou wilt, O Bhishma, attain to the region of the Vasis, and also eternal fame on earth. Narada continued, having cheerfully spoken thus, the illustrious Rishi Pulastya, well pleased, bidding Bhishma farewell, disappeared there and then. And Bhishma also, O tiger among men, well understanding the true import of the Shastras, wandered over the world at the command of Pulastya. Thus, O thou blessed one, did Bhishma end at Prayaga his highly meritorious journey to the tirthas capable of destroying all sins. The man that ranges the earth in accordance with these injunctions, obtains the highest fruit of 100 horse sacrifices and earns salvation hereafter. Thou wilt, O son of Pritha, obtain merit consisting of the 8 attributes, even like that which Bhishma, the foremost of the Kurus, had obtained of yore. And as thou wilt lead these ascetics to those tirthas, thy merit will be much greater. Those tirthas are infested by Rakshasas, and no one, save thyself, O son of Kuru race, can go there. Rising early, he that reciteth this narrative by the celestial rishis on the subject of the tirthas, becometh free from all sins. Those foremost of rishis, Valmiki, and Kasyapa, and Atreya, and Kundajathara, and Viswamitra, and Gautama, and Asita, and Devala, and Markandeya, and Galava, and Bharadvaja, and Vasishtha, and the Muni Uddalaka, and Soinka with his son, and Vyasa, that best of ascetics, and Durvasas, that foremost of Munis, and Javali of great austerities. All these illustrious rishis endued with wealth of asceticism, are staying in expectation of thee. With these, O mighty king, do thou meet by visiting these tirthas. And, O illustrious monarch, a great rishi of immeasurable energy, Lomesa by name, will come to thee. Do thou follow him, and me, and by turns visit these tirthas, O thou virtuous one. By this, thou wilt acquire great fame, like King Mahabharat. O tiger among kings, even as the virtuous Yayati and King Pururavas, dost thou blaze forth with thy own virtue. Like King Bhagiratha and the illustrious Rama, dost thou shine among kings even as the sun himself. And thou art, O great king, celebrated in the world even as Muni or Ikshvaku, or the highly famous Puru or Vanya, and as in days of yore the slayer of Vritra, after burning all his foes, ruled the three worlds, his mind freed from anxiety, so wilt thou rule thy subjects, after slaying all thy enemies. And, O thou of eyes like lotus leaves, having conquered the earth according to the customs of thy order, thou wilt obtain renown by thy virtue, even like Kartavyayuna. Vasampayana continued, O great king, having comforted the monarch thus, the illustrious Rishi Narada, bidding farewell to the king, disappeared there and then. And the virtuous Yudhishthira, reflecting upon the subject, began to recite unto the ascetics the merit attaching to tirthas. Thus ends the 85th section in the Tirtha Parva of the Vana Parva. Section 86, Tirthayatra Parva continued. Vasampayana continued, having ascertained the opinion of his brothers, and of the intelligent Narada, King Yudhishthira, addressing Dharmya, who was like unto the grandsire himself, said, I have for the acquisition of arms, sent away that tiger among men, Jishnu, whose prowess is incapable of being baffled, and who is possessed of long arms and immeasurable intelligence. O thou of ascetic wealth, that hero is devoted to me, endued with ability and well skilled in weapons, and like unto the exalted Vasudeva himself. I know them both, Krishna and Arjuna, those destroyers of enemies, O Brahmana, endued with prowess, even as the puissant Vyasa knoweth them. I know Vasudeva and Dhananjaya to be none else than Vishnu himself, possessed of the 6 attributes. And this is also what Narada knoweth, for he hath always spoken so unto me. I also know them to be Rishi Nara and Narayana. Knowing him to possess the ability, I have sent him on the mission. Not inferior unto Indra and fully competent for the task, I have sent that son of a god to see the lord of the celestials and obtain weapons from him. Bhishma and Drona are Atirathas, Kripa and the son of Drona are invincible. These mighty warriors have been installed by Dhritarashtra's son in the command of his army. All these are versed in the Vedas, are heroic, and possessed of the knowledge of every weapon. Endued with great strength, these always desire to encounter Arjuna in fight. And Karna also of the Sutha caste is a mighty warrior versed in celestial weapons. In respect of the impetus of his weapons, he is endued with the strength of the wind god. Himself like a flame of fire, the arrows proceeding from him constitute its tongues. The slaps of his left hand cased in leathern fence constitute the crackling of that flame. The dust of the battlefield is its smoke. Urged by the sons of Dhritarashtra even as the wind urged the fire, Karna like unto the all-consuming fire at the end of the yuga that is sent by death himself, will without doubt, consume my troops like unto a heap of straw. Only that mighty mass of clouds called Arjuna, aided by Krishna like unto a powerful wind, with celestial weapon representing its fierce lightning, the white steeds, the rows of white cranes coursing underneath and the unbearable Gandiva, the rainbow ahead, is capable of extinguishing the blazing flame represented by Karna by means of its arrowy showers let off with unflagging steadiness. That conqueror of hostile cities, Vibhatsu, will without doubt succeed in obtaining from Indra himself all the celestial weapons with their fullness and life. Alone he is equal, I think, unto them all. Otherwise it is impossible for us to vanquish in fight all those foes, who have attained to eminent success in all their purposes. We shall behold Arjuna, that represser of foes, fully equipped with celestial weapons, for Vibhatsu having once undertaken a task, never droop it under its weight. Without that hero, however, that best of men, ourselves with Krishna, cannot be at rest in Kamyak. Therefore, do thou mention some other wood that is sacred and delightful, and abounds in food and fruits, and that is inhabited by men of pious practices, where we may pass some time, expecting the warlike Arjuna of unbaffled prowess, like the Chataka in expectation of gathering clouds. Do thou tell us of some asylums open to the regenerate ones, and lakes and streams and beautiful mountains. O Brahmana, deprived of Arjuna, I do not like to stay in this wood of Kamyak. We wish to go somewhere else. Thus ends the 86th section in the Tirtha Parva of the Vana Parva. Section 87, Tirthayatra Parva continued. Vasampayana said, beholding the Pandavas afflicted with anxiety and depressed in spirits, Dharmya, who resembled Vrihaspati, spake thus comforting them, O bull of the Bharata race, O sinless one, listen to me as I mention certain sacred asylums and regions and tirthas and mountains that are approved of by Brahmanas. O king, listen to me as I speak. Thyself with the daughter of Drupta and thy brothers, wilt, O Lord of men, be relieved from grief. And, O son of Pandu, by hearing only of these places, thou wilt acquire merit. And by visiting them thou wilt obtain merit 100 times greater, O best of men. First, O king, I will, so far as I recollect, speak of the beautiful eastern country, much regarded, O Yudhishthira, by royal rishis. In that direction, O Bharata, is a place called Namisha, which is regarded by the celestials. There, in that region are several sacred tirthas belonging to the gods. There also is the sacred and beautiful Gomti which is adored by celestial rishis, and there also is the sacrificial region of the gods and the sacrificial stake of Surya. In that quarter also is that best of hills called Gaya, which is sacred and much regarded by royal ascetics. There on that hill is the auspicious lake called Brahmasara which is adored by celestial rishis. It is for this that the ancients say that one should wish for many sons, so that even one among them may visit Gaya, celebrate the horse sacrifice, or give away a Nila bull, and thereby deliver 10 generations of his race, up and down. There, O monarch, is a great river, and spot called Gayasira. In Gayasira is a banyan, which is called by the Brahmanas the eternal banyan, for the food that is offered there to the Pitris becometh eternal, O exalted one. The great river that floweth by the place is known by the name of Falgu, and its waters are all sacred. And, O bull among the Bharatas, there also, in that place, is the Kaushiki, whose basin abounds in various fruit and roots, and where Viswamitra endued with wealth of asceticism acquired Brahmanahood. Towards that direction also is the sacred Ganga, on whose banks Bhagiratha celebrated many sacrifices with profuse gifts to Brahmanas. They say that in the country of Panchala, there is a wood called Utpala, where Viswamitra of Kusika's race had performed sacrifices with his son, and where beholding the relics of Viswamitra's superhuman power, Rama, the son of Jamdagni, recited the praises of his ancestry. At Kamyak, Kusika's son had quaffed the Soma juice with Indra. Then abandoning the Kshatriya order, he began to say, I am a Brahmana in that quarter. O hero is the sacred confluence of Ganga and Yamuna which is celebrated over the world. Holy and sin-destroying, that Tirtha is much regarded by the rishis. It is there that the soul of all things, the grandsire, had, in olden days, performed his sacrifice, and it is for this, O chief of the Bharata race, that the place hath come to be called Prayaga. In this direction, O foremost of kings, lieth the excellent asylum of Agastya, O monarch, and the forest called Thapasa, decked by many ascetics. And there also is the great Tirtha called Hiranyavinda on the Kalanjara hills, and that best of mountains called Agastya, which is beautiful, sacred and auspicious. In that quarter, O descendant of the Kuru race, is the mountain called Mahendra, sacred to the illustrious Rama of the Bhrigu race. There, O son of Kunti, the grandsire performed sacrifices of yore. There, O Yudhishthira, the sacred Bhagiratha entered at a lake, and there also, O king, is that sacred river known by the name of the merit-bestowing Brahmasara, whose banks are inhabited by persons whose sins have been washed away, and whose sight alone produceth merit. In that direction also lieth the high-souled Matanga's excellent asylum, called Kedara, which is sacred and auspicious and celebrated over the world. And there also is the mountain called Kundoda, which is so delightful and abounding in fruits and roots and waters, and where the king of the Nishadas, Nala, had slaked his thirst and rested for a while. In that quarter also is the delightful Devavan, which is graced by ascetics. There also are the rivers Vahudha and Nanda on the mountain's crest. O mighty king, I have described unto thee all the tirthas and sacred spots in the eastern quarter. Do thou now hear of the sacred tirthas, and rivers and mountains and holy spots in the other three quarters. Thus ends the 87th section in the Tirthayatara Parva of the Vana Parva. Section 88, Tirthayatra Parva continued. Dhyamya continued, Listen, O Bharata, I shall now narrate to thee in detail according to my knowledge, the sacred tirthas of the south. In that quarter lieth the sacred and auspicious river Godavari, full of water abounding in groves and frequented by ascetics. In that direction also are the rivers Vena and Bhimarti, both capable of destroying sin and fear, and abounding in birds and deer, and graced with abodes of ascetics. In that region also, O bull of the Bharata race, is the Tirtha of the royal ascetic, Nriga, viz., the river Payoshni, which is delightful and full of waters and visited by Brahmanas. There the illustrious Markandeya, of high ascetic merit, sang the praises in verse of King Nriga's line. We have heard respecting the sacrificing King Nriga that which really took place while he was performing a sacrifice in the excellent Tirtha called Vara on the Payoshni. In that sacrifice, Indra became intoxicated with quaffing the Soma, and the Brahmanas, with the gifts they received. The water of the Payoshni, taken up in vessel, or flowing along the ground, or conveyed by the wind, can cleanse a person from whatever sins he may commit till the day of his death. Higher than heaven itself and pure, and created and bestowed by the trident-bearing God, there in that Tirtha is an image of Mahadev, beholding which a mortal goeth to the region of Shiva. Placing on one scale, Ganga and the other rivers with their waters, and on the other the Payoshni, the latter, in my opinion, would be superior to all the Tirthas together, in point of merit. Then, O foremost of the Bharata race, on the mountain called Varunashrotasa is the sacred and auspicious wood of Mathara abounding in fruits and roots, and containing a sacrificial stake. Then, O king, it is said that in the region on the north of the Praveni and about the sacred asylum of Ganva, are many woody retreats of ascetics. And, O child, in the Tirtha called Serpaka are two sacrificial platforms of the illustrious Jamdagni, called Pashana and Punaskandra, O Bharata. And, O son of Kunti, in that spot is the Tirtha called Asoka, abounding in woody retreats of ascetics. And, O Yudhishthira, in the country of the Pandyas are the Tirthas named Agastya and Varuna. And, O bull among men, there, amongst the Pandyas, is the Tirtha called the Kumaris. Listen, O son of Kunti, I shall now describe Tamrapani. In that asylum, the gods had undergone penances impelled by the desire of obtaining salvation. In that region also is the lake of Gokarna, which is celebrated over the three worlds, hath an abundance of cool waters, and is sacred, auspicious, and capable, O child, of producing great merit. That lake is extremely difficult of access to men of unpurified souls. Near to that Tirtha is the sacred asylum of Agastya's disciple, the mountain Devsabha, which abounds in trees and grass, and fruit and roots. And there also is the Vajolya mountain, which is delightful, abounding in gems and capable of bestowing great merit. There, on that mountain, is the asylum of Agastya abounding in fruits and roots and water. I shall now, O Lord of men, describe the sacred spots and asylums and rivers and lakes belonging to the Surashtra country. O Yudhishthira, the Brahmahas say that on the sea coast is the Chamasudvela, and also Prabhasa, that Tirtha which is much regarded by the gods. There also is the Tirtha called Pindaka, frequented by ascetics and capable of producing great merit. In that region is a mighty hill named Ujjayanta which conduceth to speedy success. Regarding it, the celestial Rishi Narada, of great intelligence, hath recited an ancient sloka. Do thou listen to it, O Yudhishthira. By performing austerities on the sacred hill of Ujjayanta in Surashtra, that abounds in birds and animals, a person becometh regarded in heaven. There also is Dwaravati, producing great merit, where dwelleth the slayer of Madhu, who is the ancient one in embodied form, and eternal virtue. Brahmanas versed in the Vedas, and persons acquainted with the philosophy of the soul, say that the illustrious Krishna is eternal virtue. Govinda is said to be the purest of all pure things, the righteous of the righteous and the auspicious of the auspicious. In all the three worlds, he of eyes like lotus leaves is the God of gods and is eternal. He is the pure soul and the active principle of life, is the supreme Brahma and is the Lord of all. That slayer of Madhu, Hari of inconceivable soul, dwelleth there. Thus ends the 88th section in the Tirtha Parva of the Vana Parva. Section 89, Tirthayatra Parva continued. Dharmya continued, I shall describe to thee those sacred spots capable of producing merit that lie on the west, in the country of the Anartas, O Bharata. There flows in a westward course the sacred river Narmada, graced by priyangu and mango trees and engarlanded with thickets of canes. All the tirthas and sacred spots, and rivers and woods and foremost of mountains that are in the three worlds, all the gods with the grandsire, along with the Siddhas, the Rishis and the Charanas, O best of the Kurus, always come, O Bharata, to bathe in the sacred waters of the Narmada. And it hath been heard by us that the sacred asylum of the Muni Visravas had stood there, and that there was born the Lord of Treasures, Kuvara, having men for his vehicles. There also is that foremost of hills, the sacred and auspicious Vedolya peak, abounding with trees that are green and which are always graced with fruit and flowers. O Lord of the earth, on the top of that mountain is a sacred tank decked with full-blown lotus and resorted to by the gods and the Gandharvas. Many are the wonders, O mighty monarch, that may be seen on that sacred mountain which is like unto heaven itself, and which is visited by celestial rishis. There, O subjugator of hostile cities, is the sacred river called Viswamitra, belonging to the royal sage of that name and which abounds, O king, in many sacred tirthas. It was on the banks of this river that Yayati, the son of Nahusha, fell from heaven among the virtuous, and obtained once more the eternal regions of the righteous. Here also are the well-known lake called Punya, the mountain called Mainka, and that other mountain called Asita abounding in fruit and roots. And here also is the sacred asylum of Kakshasena, and, O Yudhishthira, the asylum of Chavna also, which is famed over every country, O son of Pandu. In that spot, O exalted one, men attain to ascetic success without severe austerities. Here also, O mighty king, is the region called Jambumriga, inhabited by birds and deer, and which constitutes the retreat of ascetics with souls under control, O thou foremost of those that have subdued their senses. Next lie the exceedingly sacred Ketumala, and Medhya ever graced with ascetics, and, O Lord of earth, Gangavara, and the well-known woods of Sindhava which are sacred and inhabited by the regenerate ones. There also is the celebrated tank of the grandsire, called Pushkara, the favorite abode of the Vakanasas and Siddhas and Rishis. Moved by the desire of obtaining its protection, the creators sang this verse at Pushkara, O chief of the Kurus and foremost of virtuous men. If a person of pure soul purposes a pilgrimage to the Pushkaras in imagination even, he becometh purged from all his sins and rejoiceth in heaven. Thus ends the 89th section in the Tirthayatara Parva of the Vana Parva. Section 90, Tirthayatra Parva continued. Dharmya continued, O tiger among kings, I shall now describe those tirthas and sacred spots that lie to the north. Do thou, O exalted one, listen to me attentively. By hearing this narration, O hero, one acquireth a reverential frame of mind, which conduceth to much good. In that region is the highly sacred Saraswati abounding in tirthas and with banks easy of descent. There also, O son of Pandu, is the ocean-going and impetuous Yamuna, and the tirtha called Plakshavatrana, productive of high merit and prosperity. It was there that the regenerate ones having performed the Saraswata sacrifice, bade on the completion thereof. There also, O sinless one, is the well-known celestial tirtha called Agnisiras, which is productive of great merit. There King Sahdeva had celebrated a sacrifice measuring out the ground by a throw of the Samya. It is for this reason, O Yudhishthira, that Indra sang the praises of Sahdeva in verse. Those verses are still current in this world, being recited by the regenerate ones, e.g., on the Yamuna, Sahdeva worshipped the sacrificial fire, giveth gifts in 100,000s to Brahmanas. There the illustrious king, the imperial Bharata, performed 35 horse sacrifices. O child, we have heard that Sarabanga of yore, used to fully gratify the desires of the regenerate ones. There in this region is his celebrated asylum productive of great merit. In that region also, O son of Pritha, is the river Saraswati, which is ever worshipped by the god, where, in days of yore, the Valikilyas, O great king, performed sacrifices. In that region also, O Yudhishthira, is the well-known river Drisadvati, which is productive of great merit. Then, O chief of men, are Nyagrodhya, and Panchalya, and Punyaka and Dalbhaya and Dalbhaya, which are, O son of Kunti, the sacred asylums in the world of illustrious Anandayasas of excellent voice and great energy, and which are celebrated over the three worlds. Here also, O Lord of men, the illustrious Etern and Avarn versed in the Vedas, learned in Vedic lore, and proficient in the knowledge of Vedic rites, performed meritorious sacrifices, O chief of the Bharata race. There also is Visakayupa, to which, in days of yore, came the gods with Varuna and Indra, and practiced ascetic austerities. And therefore is that spot so eminently sacred. Here also is Palsaka, where the great and illustrious and highly blessed Rishi Jamdagni performed sacrifices. There all the principal rivers in their embodied forms, taking their respective waters, stood surrounding that best of sages. And there also, O monarch, Vibhavasu, fire, himself, beholding that high-souled one's initiation, sang the following sloka, the river coming to the illustrious Jamdagni, while sacrificing unto the gods, gratified the Brahmanas with offerings of honey. O Yudhishthira, the spot where Ganga rusheth past, cleaving the foremost of mountains, which is frequented by Gandharvas and Yakshas and Rakshasas and Apsaras, and inhabited by hunters and Kinnaras, is called Gangavara. O king, Sanat Kumara regardeth that spot visited by Brahmarshis, as also the Tirtha Kanakla that is near to it, as sacred. There also is the mountain named Puru, which is resorted to by great rishis, and where Pururavas was born, and Bhrigu practiced ascetic austerities. For this it is, O king, that asylum hath become known as the great peak of Bhrigutunga. Near that peak is the sacred and extensive Vadari, that highly meritorious asylum, famed over the three worlds of him, O bull of the Bharata race, who is the present, the past and the future, who is called Narayana, and the Lord Vishnu, who is eternal and the best of male beings, and who is preeminently illustrious. Near Vadari, the cool current of Ganga was formerly warm, and the banks there were overspread with golden sands. There the gods and rishis of high fortune and exceeding effulgence, approaching the divine Lord Narayana, always worship him. The entire universe with all its tirthas and holy spots is there, where dwelleth the divine and eternal Narayana, the supreme soul, for he is merit, he is the supreme Brahma, he is tirtha, he is the ascetic retreat, he is the first, he is the foremost of gods, and he is the great Lord of all creatures. He is eternal, he is the great creator, and he is the highest state of blessedness. Learned persons versed in the scriptures attain to great happiness by knowing him. In that spot are the celestial rishis, the siddhas, and, indeed, all the rishis, where dwelleth the slayer of Madhu, that primeval deity and mighty yogin. Let no doubt enter thy heart that that spot is the foremost of all holy spots. These, O Lord of earth, are the tirthas and sacred spots on earth, that I have recited, O best of men. These all are visited by the Vasis, the Sadhyas, the Adityas, the Mangyutas, the Aswins and the illustrious rishis resembling the celestials themselves. By journeying, O son of Kunti, to those places, with the Brahmanas and ascetics that are with thee and with thy blessed brothers, thou wilt be freed from anxiety. Thus ends the 90th section in the Tirthayatara Parva of the Vana Parva. Section 91, Tirthayatra Parva continued. Vasampayana continued, O son of the Kuru race, while Dharmya was speaking thus, there arrived at the spot the Rishi Lomisa of great energy. And the king, who was the eldest of Pandu's sons, with his followers and those Brahmanas sat round the highly righteous one, like celestials in heaven sitting round Sakra. And having received him duly, Yudhishthira the just inquired after the reason of his arrival, and the object also of his wanderings. Thus asked by Pandu's son, the illustrious ascetic, well pleased, replied in sweet words delighting the Pandavas. Travelling at will, O Kaunteya, over all the regions, I came to Sakra's abode, and saw there the Lord of the Celestials. There, I saw thy heroic brother capable of wielding the bow with his left hand, seated on the same seat with Sakra. And beholding part on that seat I was greatly astonished, O tiger among men. And the Lord of the Celestials then said unto me, Go thou unto the sons of Pandu at the request, therefore, of Indra as also of the high-souled son of Pritha have I come hither with speed, desiring to see thee with thy younger brothers. O child, I will relate what will please thee highly, O son of Pandu. Do thou listen to it, O king, with Krishna and the rishis that are with thee. O bull of the Bharata race, Parth hath obtained from Rudra that incomparable weapon for the acquisition of which thou hadst sent him to heaven. That fierce weapon, known by the name of Brahmasira, which arose after Amrita, and which Rudra had obtained by means of ascetic austerities, hath been acquired by Arjuna together with the mantras for hurling and withdrawing it, and the rites of expiation and revival. And, O Yudhishthira, Arjuna of immeasurable prowess hath also acquired Vajras and Dandas and other celestial weapons from Yam and Kuvara and Varuna and Indra, O son of the Kuru race. And he hath also thoroughly learned music, both vocal and instrumental, and dancing and proper recitation of the Saman, Veda, from Viswavasu's son. And having thus acquired weapons and mastered the Gandhara Veda, thy third brother Vivatsu liveth happily in heaven. Listen to me, O Yudhishthira, for I shall now deliver to thee the message of that foremost of celestials. He hath commanded me, saying, Thou wilt, no doubt, go to the world of men. O best of Brahmanas, tell thou Yudhishthira these words of mine. Soon will thy brother Arjuna come to thee, having acquired arms and accomplished a great deed for the celestials that is incapable of being accomplished by themselves. Do thou meanwhile devote thyself to ascetic austerities, with thy brothers. There is nothing superior to asceticism, and it is by asceticism that a person achieveth great results. And, O bull of the Bharata race, well do I know that Karna is endued with great ardor and energy and strength and prowess that is incapable of being baffled. Well do I know that, skilled in fierce conflict, he hath not his rival in battle, that he is a mighty bowman, a hero deft in the use of fierce weapons and cased in the best of mail. Well do I know that that exalted son of Aditya resembleth the son of Maheswara himself. Well do I also know the high natural prowess of the broad-shouldered Arjuna. In battle Karna is not equal unto even a 16th part of Pritha's son. And as for the fear of Karna which is in thy heart, O repressor of foes, I shall dispel when Savyasachin will have left heaven. And as regards thy purpose, O hero, to set out on a pilgrimage to Tirthas, the great Rishi Lomesa will without doubt speak unto thee. And whatever that regenerate Rishi will relate unto thee touching the merits of asceticism and Tirtha, thou shouldst receive with respect and not otherwise. Thus ends the 91st section in the Tirtha Parva of the Vana Parva. If you enjoyed this audiobook, please like and subscribe to be notified of when new audiobooks are uploaded. Thank you for listening and learning. Shanti.